Hello and welcome to Ask You for a Trend. I'm Josh Lipton, and for the next half hour, we are breaking down the trends of today that'll move stocks tomorrow. There's a lot to keep track of, so we're focusing on what you need to know to get ahead of the curve. Here are some of the trends we're going to be diving right into. It was another tough day for tech stocks on Wall Street, and its software coming under pressure again. But tech editor Dan Howley suggests the fears are overblown. He makes his case straight ahead. Plus, Rivian shares spiking on fourth quarter results. We dive into the numbers and hear what the company's CEO has to say on the quarter. And Rivian, not the only company reporting after the bell. We've got to look at some of the other key movers. Well, SpaceX is gearing up for one of the most anticipated IPOs in market history, with Elon Musk signaling a potential July debut. But this isn't just a rocket and satellite story anymore. After merging with his AI startup, xAI, the question for investors is whether they're buying an aerospace powerhouse or a much broader AI infrastructure platform. For more, we're bringing Lisa Rich, COO of Xplore. Lisa, it is good to see you. I hear, Lisa, you're coming to us from a Tesla via Starlink. So you are all in on the Musk empire. Let's dig into this empire because, Lisa, as you know, SpaceX, lots of talk, lots of headlines about an IPO. Lisa, you're a SpaceX investor. Your thoughts on this? I would imagine, Lisa, you wouldn't mind seeing a public debut here.
Thank you, Josh. Not at all. And had I had the opportunity to ask Elon during Davos what his plans were, of course I would have. At USA House, they had an amazing presence there. But we've got amazing opportunity here with all the progress that SpaceX has made. Starlink, obviously, I wouldn't be talking to you right now without it. The concept of Starlink connect with all the Teslas and having that integrated would be amazing. So all these properties that Elon has, could you imagine if they're all folded up into one, more like the Alphabet story, which merged Waymo and YouTube, which were valuable properties in and of themselves. So when we had the private story that came out, private company of xAI merging with SpaceX, that was huge news. But what happens next, I think, is the big question. Because if you look at all these other properties that Elon has launched, all of which are making revenue in and of themselves, that's one thing. But his ambitions are huge. They're capital intensive. The idea of going to the moon and commercializing that, we're talking about even bigger money that's required, which is why going to the capital markets makes sense at this time and rewarding all of the success that SpaceX has had up until this point.
Can I ask you, as an investor, how would you go about thinking how to value SpaceX, especially after this merger with xAI? Like, what's the comp, Lisa? Is there a comp? You know, is it tech? Is it aerospace? Is it one of one? How would you think about that?
Well, I think it's adding, 1 + 1 = 5, in this case. But can the market achieve a valuation that's acceptable if they combine forces? Because they're all valuable in and of themselves. And if you think about the value in the trillions, and of course, factoring in the future plans, that's a big question. So is there a comp? No, I don't think there is one. This is really a story of our lifetime right now, is where we're headed next with the financial story and, of course, the physical and digital story of what they can accomplish.
As an investor in SpaceX, Lisa, I'm curious, when you saw, okay, they're merging with xAI, did you look at that, Lisa, and say, yes, that makes sense. That makes sense financially. That makes sense strategically. It creates a stronger story overall. Or did you think it complicates the narrative? Walk me through it.
No, I think xAI and their plan, which is the digital side of connectivity for a whole universe that they're trying to build for us. When Elon talked about it in his all hands, he said he wanted people to live their life on the app, xAI, and they just introduced the money side of this. It all flows together, and it did make sense to me. But now, what does it mean for an IPO and the value and timing? Not sure, because the original thought was middle of the summer, I think.
Let me ask you, Lisa, I want to get your take on these headlines we saw this week. Reports of departures of xAI, co-founders, that's coming after, it looks like, several other founding members too. As an investor, did you look at that, Lisa? Was that, is that any kind of red flag to you, or no, that's just, hey, that's normal scaling going on?
It wasn't to me, because I am a founder and I've never scaled something like what Elon has done. However, you go through these stages, and the people that you hire at the beginning of the company are not the people that are the skill sets that you necessarily need for scale and growth. So a lot of those folks sit well in that early stage environment, but then when you need to get management in place and larger teams in place, it gets more complicated. So you need people with those skill sets. So it's an evolution that does have to happen, and he kind of bit the bullet and did it.
Last question, Lisa. I'm curious, as a SpaceX investor, and you outlined all these grand opportunities and ambitions, and that's why you saddle up with Elon Musk, because he swings for the fences, right? I'm curious though, before you put money to work, what were some of the risks you thought about with SpaceX? Was it national security concerns? Was it regulatory issues, competition? How did you frame it?
Well, I would say the government was one of the biggest challenges for SpaceX, because they were going to provide a service, but they had to prove they could do it. They had to prove they could do it at a lower cost and then reliably. So they've done that with cargo and then crew missions. And now the idea of, instead of going to Mars first, going to the moon first, this cadence of launch that they've achieved for getting mass into orbit is so phenomenal. Can they do that for the moon? And that helps us actually have a reliable launch cadence that lowers the price, that helps us have a real commercialization story. So there is a commercialization story that's happened with launch today, because he's been able to get so many companies to launch. And then as you're thinking about orbital data centers in the future, which is huge mass that has to go to launch, that's huge cost. And we need Starship going and regularly. So that's kind of the next phase. So he's proven what he's done. He's faced, lawsuits and whatever. He's had all the challenges with constraints with government side of things, and proven himself. So what if he could prove this again and really enable Artemis and the work that they need to do on the moon, and get it to be that commercial story that we've all been hoping for?
Lisa, coming to us from a Tesla via Starlink, what better way to talk about all things Musk. Thank you, Lisa, as always.
You're welcome. Thank you, Josh.
Stick around. Much more Ask for a Trend. That's still to come. Rivian earnings just crossing the wire, and our very own Pras Marina is here with the details. Pras, that stock's flying.
I have our very own headlines here for this.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So look, what everyone's really excited about. What are they excited about? Delivery guidance, right? The 2026 guidance, 62,000 to 67,000 vehicles. That's better than the 63,000 the street expected. That's really going to be comprised of the R2, right? Because last year they were in the 40s, right? The R2 is a new upcoming mid-size $40,000 to $50,000 vehicle that'll eventually be the volume mover for them, right? So that's happening. That R2 is on track for Q2 customer deliveries, which is again narrowing that. Is it first half? Now it's going to be Q2. It's going to happen. Had validation bills were off the line this in January, so very, very bullish here. Stock up 17% now. We're going to hear more about this up on the call later today. But yeah, Q4 numbers are better than expected. A gross profit for the year actually, but that's driven more by services, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Rivian CEO You spoke to the man. What do you have to say?
Correct, yeah. I spoke to him earlier today before the earnings release, talked about how an inflection was reached with the company, with him suggesting that, with the R2 coming out, they're going to potentially move into more profitability, a gross margin profitability at some point, because the car is much cheaper to build. He also said there's some risks involved with the R2, and here's what he told me. He said, the biggest risk in a ramp up and what we've been experiencing in the past and built some skills around managing is just the complexities of ramping up a supply chain, some of the unknowns within supply chain, and that can be specific, like a memory or chipset, or it could be as broad as aluminum supply. And he mentioned, looking forward to struggling with the aluminum supply with the Bellis fire in the plant. So that's some of the things that it's good positive stuff, but it doesn't come without risk.
Finally, looking to catch up to Tesla and Waymo with that autonomous unit. What's the latest there?
So they had their autonomy day in December. We went out there and we saw some of the products out there, and it basically offered in the near term a hands-free product called Universal Hands-Free. Charge $50 a month for that. Apparently, uptake is good. The progression would eventually be a level 4 type of autonomy, and they want to use that as a services thing. And Volkswagen, as part of their JV, is paying them a lot of money to access this software. So you see that as another revenue generator for them, and that's sort of what Tesla's been doing, right, with their subscription services. So the question is, will there be more clients like Volkswagen coming to get that service? And we'll see. But it's good for them because they need that money as they sort of continue that ramp up and the inflection for the business.
All right, thank you, Bryce. Appreciate it. Meanwhile, the software sector has been taking a massive beating on Wall Street over AI disruption fears, but is the reaction overblown? Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley joins now with a closer look. What do you say?
Yes.
Overblown.
That's it.
How so?
Cut the segment
that's
out.
it.
It is overblown. It's the big thing here is obviously what's going on with Anthropic and OpenAI. Anthropic had kind of launched this co-work feature, and it flew under the radar for a hot minute, and then they released plugins for it that I think people started to realize, oh, snap, we can actually do certain things with this. So things when it comes to legal measures, if you have to summarize different things or look things up in a legal document, marketing, productivity, it put all of these things into different categories that I think people started to say, well, that's it, Anthropic's going to be the leader in customer management, productivity, we'll just close up shop on everyone else. The reality, though, is much more nuanced, of course. There's going to obviously be a potential launch. Maybe Anthropic will get deeper into stuff like this. They're still focusing on AI heavily. But if you think that these companies like Salesforce, they use AI right now, ServiceNow, they have a deal with Anthropic as well. Microsoft, obviously, they're in the productivity space, but also, they benefit from the OpenAI agreement. If you don't think that these other companies, though, are already working on getting AI or already offer AI in their own products, then you haven't been paying attention because they do offer AI or are actively working to integrate better AI into their services. And so the idea that we're just going to see Anthropic come in and just, right away just run roughshod all over all these different software companies, it's just a complete overreaction, I think. And it's the same thing that we see every time you get a headline out of the chip sector, right? Something goes on, a negative headline comes out, all of a sudden all the chip stocks sell off and everyone's like, well, that's it. It's over, that's AI is done, we should just sell. And it's that kind of overblown reaction.
I wonder, do you think part of it is investors look at AI right now and they're like, this seems to be moving so quickly that I can't tell who's going to be a winner and a loser. So right now, I'm standing out. I'm going neutral.
It could be part of that. And look, there's for sure going to be changes, right? When it comes to these companies, the winners and losers, we don't know who they're going to be yet. This all started in 2022 when ChatGPT debuted, and it's only 2026. You got to think about, when the internet really started to blow up, and then you started to see the shakeout, and it took years for the shakeout, for the bubble burst, and then we had the companies that we had today. The Googles were able to thrive, the Amazons came out, and that's where we see these huge companies now. Don't even forget, Uber didn't exist during the dot-com era when it was taking off, right? And I know that it's not the same as laying lines, but it eventually led down to the mobile era, and as a result, this kind of new generation of the mobile economy that we have. This is still very early. So just think about it in that context. We're not going to know who winners and losers are for a while. I mean, when it comes to the AI companies themselves, as long as they keep paying their bills and keep the lights on, they'll continue to do their thing. Some of them got some pretty uneven balance sheets at this point. Not to name names, but when you got to pay $1 trillion in a few years, I don't know what to tell you.
Only 60 seconds left, but this Bloomberg headline, I want the Dan Halley take on. You saw this. Apple's long-planned upgrade to Siri has run into snags during testing, potentially, they say, pushing back the release of several highly anticipated functions. You saw that Bloomberg headline. That's got to be Mark Gurman, of course.
Mark Gurman, he's coming through again.
Of course. What do you make of it?
I mean, it really is. I think at this point, I feel like consumers are just, when is it going to happen? When am I going to get this, right? And the original thing here was we were going to see all the features launch at once. Now they're going to be kind of staggered, apparently. And so I think that, I still believe that for most users, this is not a make or break at all.
In fact, when we were talking about that last earnings report, how strong that iPhone 17 cycle is, right?
And who's getting that? And they're like, look, I got Apple Intelligence. I'll tell you what, here's a perfect example. My brother was asking, do I upgrade my phone? Do I need something for Apple Intelligence? He's a regular user, right? Yeah. My mom, same thing. They're not like, oh, well, you know what? I really cannot wait for Apple Intelligence. These are regular folks who are going out. There's my jersey coming out. These are regular folks who are coming out trying to, decide if they should buy phones or not. And they're seeing, what is this? I don't understand. Yeah. Right? And I think that at a certain point, obviously, Apple, this will all become table stakes. And, we'll no longer talk about AI and phones as some kind of big to-do. It'll just be part of the phone, right? And so I don't see this as being a complete negative. I think for Apple, it's absolutely a black eye in the sense that this is supposed to be a company that has its stuff locked down, and it's been dealing with this turnover and these different changes going on in AI, and so I think that's a black eye for them. But look, when it comes to Apple, when it comes to their devices, you're not really signing up for the software. You're signing up for the hardware. And, to a degree, what they have going on with the operating systems, right? But, I think for AI, Apple doesn't have a cab app, right? They don't have to. Yeah. They have, you don't necessarily need to do AI, you got ChatGPT.
Your point being, for most people, it's still that processor, that battery, that camera. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Halley, appreciate it. Stick around, much more Ask for a Trend, that's still to come. Time now for some after-hours movers. Going to start here with Pinterest. Those shares are sinking after missing fourth quarter earnings estimates. Guidance for the first quarter also missing Wall Street's expectations. The company's latest results comes just weeks after announcing layoffs of 15% of its workforce amid its pivot toward AI products. It's the second quarter in a row that the stock has fallen by double digits on earnings. Meantime, Airbnb moving higher on the back of better than expected revenue and guidance thanks to healthy travel demand. Analysts expect room night growth to see a boost this summer with the FIFA World Cup coming to the U.S. Still, adjusted EPS fell short of estimates, but that isn't holding down shares, which are up about 4%. Shares of Arista Networks are surging after hours. That company delivering strong fourth quarter results. Revenue rising nearly 29% from a year ago to about $2.49 billion, with earnings coming in at 82 cents a share. The AI networking play also topping $9 billion in full-year revenue and guided first quarter sales to around $2.6 billion, signaling continued momentum into 2026. That's a wrap on today's Ask for a Trend. Be sure to come back tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Eastern for all of the latest market-moving stories affecting your wealth.